Do you know that before humans set foot on Antarctica, they had already seen the planet Uranus? Imagine, a continent larger than Australia remained unseen by human eyes until 1820. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in our exploration journey. Welcome to Third Rock Matters. Today, let's embark on an incredible journey through time and discover the last places on Earth to be explored by humans. From the dawn of humanity to the remarkable expeditions of the Great Age of European exploration, join us as we uncover the mysteries of the world's last frontiers. It seems like today the world is full of people. There are 7.4 billion of us after all. But it didn't always used to be like this. The world used to be a much larger place. The question is, where and when was the last piece of land on Earth that was discovered by humans? Let's start literally at the beginning of humanity. We go back to Ethiopia in 195,000 BC. We don't really know exactly when humanity discovered certain parts of the world this long ago, but we do have our best guesses based on fossil evidence that has been discovered. The oldest Homo sapiens fossils to date were found in Ethiopia, so human exploration likely started from here. With an entire world to explore, it took until 140,000–160,000 years ago for humans to discover modern-day Sudan. By 125,000 years ago, humans had reached the southern point of the African continent and had also crossed the sea into Arabia or modern-day Yemen. This new group of Arabian-based humans had reached Israel by 100,000 years ago and Oman by 75,000 to 125,000 years ago. Back in Africa, 90,000 years ago, humanity had reached the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Over in Asia, 70,000 years ago, humans first arrived in India and 67,000 years ago had reached the Philippines, marking the first time that humans arrived in Oceania. 50,000 years ago, humans first arrived in Taiwan, and 50,000 to 80,000 years ago, humans also arrived in Egypt for the first time. Humans arrived in Australia 48,000 years ago. Those early settlers to Australia and their descendants would remain almost completely undisturbed by the rest of the human population until 1770 with the arrival of Captain James Cook. So, about 47,000 years ago, humans arrived in Japan, and 1,000 years later, arrived in Laos and Indonesia. Finally, 45,000 years ago, humans arrived in Greece, marking the first time humans arrived in Europe. Usually, when humans arrived somewhere for the first time, things die, so naturally, the Neanderthals of Europe would mysteriously vanish. 5,000 years later, humans settled Italy, and 43,000 years ago, somehow skipped France and arrived in the UK. Germany was settled 42,000 years ago. On the other side of the world, humans had discovered China 39,000 to 42,000 years ago, Tasmania 41,000 years ago, and New Guinea 40,000 years ago. Sometime later, 34,000 years ago, humans got around to discovering Sri Lanka, and then we discovered another new continent. North America was settled 25,000 to 40,000 years ago. By 28,000 years ago, a good chunk of Europe had been explored, including France, the Czech Republic, Romania, Poland, and Russia. Portugal was finally reached 24,500 years ago, and Sicily 20,000 years ago. Strangely, this means that humans had reached North America before humans reached Portugal. The mainland United States was first reached 16,000 years ago, and humans first arrived in South America 14,800 years ago. Europe's frozen hellhole called Svalbard was made untouched by humans until an English whaler landed there in 1604. Bermuda was landed on by a group of shipwrecked Englishmen in 1609, and January Mayen was also first landed on by a whaler in 1615. Mauritius was landed on by the Dutch in 1638, and the dodo quickly vanished from the island afterwards. Reunion Island was reached in 1642 by the French. Tristan d'Acunha was discovered by the Dutch in 1643, and the Falkland Islands by the English in 1690, which would remain almost totally irrelevant until Margaret Thatcher. Rodriguez Island was discovered in 1691 by the French. Île Saint Paul and Île Amsterdam were both discovered by the Dutch in 1696. Ascension Island was first landed on in 1701 by 60 shipwrecked Englishmen who were stranded there for 2 months. The Seychelles were discovered in 1770 by the French. The Kerguelen Islands in 1772, also by the French. South Georgia in 1775 by James Cook once again. Lord Howe Island in 1788 by the British, and Prince Edward's Island in 1799 by the French. By 1800, there really wasn't a whole lot left to discover, but that didn't stop people from trying and succeeding. The South Shetland Islands were landed on in 1819 by the British, Macquarie Island in 1820 by the Russians, the South Orkney Islands in 1821 by the British, and the Crozet Islands also in 1821 by some British sealers that got shipwrecked and stranded there for over 2 years. That's about it. Oh right. Except for the 7th continent that's bigger than Australia at the bottom of the globe, Antarctica. Antarctica was never even seen with human eyes until 1820 when a Russian explorer discovered it but failed to actually land on it. That means that humans had seen the planet Uranus before anybody had ever seen Antarctica. After seeing it in 1820, it took a while to actually land on the continent. It wasn't until 1895 that the first confirmed landing happened by a team of Norwegians. And with that moment, every piece of land on planet Earth from 195,000 BC all the way until 1895 had been finally landed on by the human species. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope that you found it informative or interesting, and if you did, feel free to post in the comments to continue the discussion. If you are interested in informative videos like this one in the future, you can subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other videos. Thank you all for watching again, and we'll see you all next time.